Good morning, everybody. Chester ARP Church Devotional Podcast. Thanks for being with us. Mitch brings us in. 1 Samuel chapter 4. Here we go.
Cheers each winding path I tread. Gives me grace for every trial. Feeds me with the living bread.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us again as we read God's Word together. 1 Samuel chapter 4, beginning in verse 1 is where we are this morning. And the word of the Lord, or the word of Samuel, came to all Israel. Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Aphek. The Philistines drew up in line against Israel, and when the battle spread, Israel was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the field of battle. And when the people came to the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, that it might come among us and save us from the power of our enemies." So the people sent to Shiloh and brought it from there, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned in the cherubim, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant. As soon as the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel gave a mighty shout, so that the earth resounded. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shouting, they said, "What does this great shouting in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" And when they learned that the ark of the Lord had come to the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "A god has come into the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us! Who can deliver us from the power of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with every sort of plague in the wilderness. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, lest you become slaves to the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Be men and fight." So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and they fled, every man to his home. And there was a great, very great slaughter, for 30,000 foot soldiers of Israel fell. And the ark was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Now, this is a story that is quite tragic when you think about the history of Israel. The Philistines were the great enemy of God's people during this time period, and as they were out at battle with the Philistines, they were defeated. When they went to battle, the word of the Lord had been sparse among the people of Israel at this time, and so they went out to battle against the Philistines. Samuel's word came to the people. They went out to battle. The word of the Lord that Eli's sons would be destroyed and the house of Eli would be removed. They go out to battle, and the Philistines defeat them. The people of Israel say, "You know what happened here? God was supposed to fight for us. He's supposed to fight off our enemies. I tell you what we'll do. We'll go get the Ark of the Covenant, which is God's dwelling place on earth, the representation of God's dwelling place on earth. We'll bring that with us, and we'll go to battle." So they go out and get it, and they bring it back from Shiloh to the battlefield, and everybody shouts. It's a great day. It's a great day. Everybody's excited about the fact that the Ark of the Covenant is in the camp, and the Philistines hear this and say, "What's going on?" Well, they get word that the Ark of the Covenant is in the camp of the Hebrews. They get scared. The Philistines get scared because this is the God who led the people out of Egypt. And so, as God led people out of Egypt, they knew that the story of God's greatness, and they were anxious. They were nervous. But yet they summoned up the courage to continue to fight. And so they go out to go to battle. Now you have to remember, we talked about this before, but you have to remember that when the Old Testament people went to battle, it was the Philistines and their God, Israel and its God and her God, and they were going to battle, and the country that won, the people that won, had the stronger God. And so they go to battle and saying, "Well, our God's as strong as your God is." So they go to battle and see who's going to win. Well, God decides at that moment that he is going to bring about victory for the Philistines. He's not going to fight on behalf of Israel, and the Philistines win. They killed 4,000 the first day. They killed 30,000 the next time they go to battle. And in that loss of battle and in that loss of life, the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, lost their lives as well. What's taking place here? What's going on here? Well, the people of God seem to think that the Ark of the Covenant was some kind of superstitious presence among them. We'll go get the Ark of the Covenant. That means that God will be with us and that God will fight for us. And if the Ark of the Covenant's here, then we will be encouraged and we will go forward and we will win the battle. Well, God does indeed fight for his people, but what they didn't realize was that it wasn't because the Ark of the Covenant was there. God fought on behalf of his people in their faithfulness. So God was bringing discipline on them for their lack of faithfulness because they had lived in this period of the Judges where everybody did what was right in his or her own eyes. They weren't following him as a people in obedience and submission and in faith. And so God honors faith, he honors submission, he honors obedience. They weren't obeying him. They just thought if they brought this ark along, that in this superstitious way, the ark was going to give them victory, that God would give them victory. But God allowed the ark, which was a representation of his dwelling place on earth with his people, God is spirit, which was his dwelling place on earth with his people, a representation of that. He allowed it to be captured because he wanted to prove to his people, he wanted to prove to the Israelites that the thing that we do in order to stay in the will of God is to obey him and walk with him and trust him, and that he honors faith, he honors obedience, not some symbol of his presence. And I think that's important for the modern church, just as important as it was for them. Sometimes we can look at our facilities, we can look at our forms, we can look at our worship styles, we can look at our instrumentation, we can look at all the stuff we do as if this is God. And if we have this stuff just right, then he's going to give victory to us. But the reality of it is the heart has to be pursuing the Lord in obedience and in faith. And so we have to be seeking after him. And we sadly will learn the same lessons that the people of Israel learned if we aren't careful and remember that ultimately our faith is in the Lord and in our faithfulness is seen in our obedience to him. So our faith is in the Lord and our faithfulness is seen in our obedience to him. You guys have a great day. God bless you. Go forward in faith. Trust the Lord. Walk with him and trust him to give his blessings to you. Take care.
You carry me close to your heart, and surely your goodness and mercy will follow.